So I want to talk about three things that like the good aspects of content creation. So we just spoke about like the pros and cons of writing and video, but in terms of like actually making stuff and putting it out there.
Okay, that sounds great. So you're talking about creating content. What kind of content are you creating?
I'm doing quite a bit. I've slowed down recently, but at one point we were doing a TikTok every day, a YouTube short every day, a YouTube long once a week, a bi-weekly newsletter, and then posting every day on LinkedIn and Twitter. Now that's not the case. I no longer do these short videos every day because it is a lot and a lot of work. But at one point it was like, how many platforms can we be on? And can we just blitz these platforms? But now what's consistent is LinkedIn is every day, near enough, I think. Yeah, every day or near enough, but 800 days in a row. Same with Twitter, a weekly newsletter. So we scaled that down back to a week. And then sometimes videos on YouTube, Instagram. And I also do 2 live events monthly. These are broadcasted on LinkedIn or whatever the video streaming platforms are. And the good thing is I repurpose everything. So I can write once and then it can go on a bunch of different platforms. But those are the typical things I'm doing, more writing than videos these days.
Okay. Yeah, don't beat yourself up. One a day. Woo, that's a lot of content. Wow. So, Chris, what made you decide what platform you were going to put what content?
I first started on Twitter and LinkedIn. I optimized the content for Twitter, just writing because it was short, but we would do threads. So then I was just like, okay, I'll just throw it on LinkedIn. And when the Twitter growth and LinkedIn growth didn't, and it just compounded over time at a better rate, that really helped. So the data there really helped. So now LinkedIn is one of the most effective channels for me in terms of audience and growth. But fundamentally, I always just look at the data. It's not always about impressions, followers, and views. Actually, if you're running your own thing and the goal is conversion, then you're thinking about like, how many people come from this channel to my website, right? And then out of those people, how many of them convert, right?
Okay. Yeah, don't.
So the content that you put out should ideally resonate with those people on that platform to then lead them to your desired goal. When you decide on which platform it is, of course, you have to think about what kind of content is it. Like a video on LinkedIn might do well, but might not do well. It might do better on Instagram. It really depends what kind of content it is as well. So you have to take into those things into account. Yeah.
Sure. Do you consider some of the, I'll say guesses of what content will work best or better on a certain platform? Do you feel like it's a crapshoot or do you feel like there is a bit of a formula that is working?
I think it's probably a bit of both. I think you can look at others and be like, okay, well, that performed for that person. Will it perform for me? And I do those experiments all the time, right? Because some of them work out, some of them don't. Twitter is quite known for memes, and only recently LinkedIn opened up to that. So I think it's just around experimentation. I don't think there's a set formula. I think as someone who creates content, just try a bunch of shit and then if your audience likes it, they like it. And then can you then repurpose that again? Because if you look at, and I like to use Clio, shout out to Trevor, a great product. If you use Clio and you look at some really big content creators like Justin Welsh, 4 out of his top 10 posts are recycled, maybe even 6. Literally the same content that he posts 3 months later. Like might have changed the image. He might have slightly changed the hook. Sometimes he doesn't change anything and it still blows up. So it's really leveraging what works for you, but also experimenting with other sort of like quote unquote viral formats. But you never know, like something you put in like 10 hours to write a piece could be absolutely trash versus something that you put 5 minutes in. So who knows?
Yeah, that's very true. So when you're talking about recycling, you're not saying repurposing, putting the same content on multiple platforms. You're saying bring it up again at a later time.
Yeah, you should do both. You should write once, distribute on all the platforms in different mediums, maybe different hooks, whatever it is. But you should also, if it does work, just try it again like next month. Because the good thing about the internet is everybody has a short-term memory. So if it worked before, the probability is high that it'll work again. It might not, but who actually cares, right? It doesn't really damage anything if you just post the same thing. You still wrote it in the first place.
I'd like to talk a little bit about, you're talking about writing and you're talking about video. What are the pros and cons of both of those approaches?
Writing is great. I've learned a lot just creating content in general. Writing gives you clarity of thought. I think just having to sit down and to communicate something effectively forces these nuggets out versus just riffing off it. But the good thing about video is you're bringing in lots of different disciplines. Like you're thinking about lighting, composition, you have to know the gear, you are learning to storytell, you're learning animations, sound design. There's a lot of good things to learn about video. And I spent probably about a year-ish just after I quit my job. Okay, well, I don't have anything to do. Let me just learn video production. And that was really fun. I think that the good things, just the learnings in general. And then potentially the challenge is video takes a lot of time and it's really expensive as a hobby. Yes, you got to get the lights. You've got to get the camera. You got to get the microphone. Like everything just adds up in terms of cost, but then also it's really time consuming to learn about it and then do it and create this video. I used to spend average 3 hours on a 1 minute edit. It took me that long to get all the sound and all the things. Now I'm a lot quicker, but it just sinks a lot of time in terms of a creative endeavor. I think more cons for video than there are for writing. I think with all these like GPTs out there, it's really easy to just spin something up, right? For video, it's not so easy, although we do see some of these platforms out there. In terms of those two aspects, I think those are the main pros and cons for me. So I want to talk about three things that like the good aspects of content creation. So we just spoke about like the pros and cons of writing and video, but in terms of like actually making stuff and putting it out there. So the first one is obviously opportunities. Everybody always sees those opportunities. You meet people that you would never otherwise meet because you've just opened up your network so much more. There's potential collaboration. There's partnership with brands. Like you could work with a brand that you've always admired that you probably would never get a job there, let's be honest, but that's fine. You can validate a product idea quicker because now you have people that trust you and likes what you're saying. You can just be like, hey guys, what do you think about this? So there are a lot of opportunities that come. And the second thing is you know how to present yourself publicly. I think this one's awesome, right? You get like more comfortable in your own skin, right? And you speak and you write, and that gives you clarity of thought, which I said earlier. And then the third one is because you're online all the time and you're not just consuming, like most people that go on these social media platforms, they are just consumers. Not many of them are creators, but you'll start to notice the folks that are creating stuff. What are they creating? And you'll learn from them. So it is really exciting. It's like another hidden layer of content creation that excites me more. Like I'm not just a consumer. I'm always following the folks that make stuff and you just become a maker. And as a designer, you're almost like that's built in. That's why you're a designer. This is just another form and it can be visual. It doesn't have to be visual, but for me, those are like the really good things that I could like bang home about.
For sure. And it's like when you become a UX professional, you never see the world the same way. There's always opportunity to improve, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes you wish you could unsee some of the things that just drive you crazy because now you know they shouldn't exist.
Yep. Yep.
Check out all my interviews with industry leaders on BlatzChatz.